Shalom everybody. In today's video, we will be doing a deep dive on the nature of angels and demons and their interactions here in this world. So with that being said, let us begin. Our first key comes from Sefer Drishot Melachim, written by Rav Moshe Cordovero. In particular, we will be entering into the seventh investigation into this matter by the great mayor of Garment of Esav, or Shaul Malcho. A translated interlinear version of Sefer Drishot Melachim has just been released. Regarding the seventh insight, for you Western readers, it states, "And so we have seen a shed or an evil spirit may enter a person and terrify him. We must investigate how such a thing enters a person and to what place it occupies within him. And likewise, we have seen an angel becomes enwrapped within a person and speaks through him words of wisdom. And this is what the people call a magid." He continues to go on that the Melachim, or the angels, come in through varying levels, some to the Nefesh, some to the Ruach, and some to the Neshama. He states, for example, regarding the Chayot, "And if the angel is from the Chayot, it will enter in through his Ruach, for that is its place. Again, if it is from the Ophanim, it will enter through his Nefesh," etc. He continues on and states, "And just as this occurs in matters of Torah, so too it occurs in worldly matters. He will be informed this will be or this will not be, and similar things, and it will come in a concealed manner. The person will not feel anything except for heaviness of head, and a ringing of the ears or a feeling of novelty as experience with a maggot, but as though he himself is saying that thing. And here lies our first insight. We must first understand that angels enter in to a person according to the various grades of his soul, some to the grade of the Neshama, some to the grade of the Ruach, and some to the grade of the Nefesh. We learned here that the angels that are called Chayot enter into his Ruach. This, in practical understanding, would be the level of the forms, the Merkaba, or the world of Yetzirah, as it has been made known to you all, while those of the Ophan enter into the level of the vital soul. An example, the Nefesh. The key behind these angels is that they enter into us and they inform us of such and such. Thus, this means that the angels in question that we are referring to are responsible for the influences that, as in the previous video regarding the nature of the heart, enter into the heart via the forms to arise and become thoughts, which are another class of angels, which gather to form concepts, which are heavens. Now, he states, whether Neshama, which will bind to his own Neshama, either for good, due to a mitzvah he performed, or for bad, due to a transgression he committed. And so we find that the Neshama has its own levels of Melachim and angels. And it states, an Asar, or an angelic minister, without a doubt will enter a person due to a sin that he committed. And when he finds himself in danger, alone, or similar situations, the force finds an opening, and it is an evil spirit that frightens him. And here at the bottom is the key. Just as the nefesh rides upon the vital spirit, so too does the shed ride upon a person, nullifying his sensory faculties, terrifying him and causing him madness. And this is the way of epileptics. He then begins to differentiate the types of shadim, or demons, and he states, and there are differences according to the variations among the families of demons, shadim, for there are many species, one above the other, dwelling in the air of the world, one upon the other, according to their degree and rank. Now with these basic introductions, I will bring us into the most inner chamber regarding the matters of these angels and these demons. In particular, I will share with you all the practicality of the demonic hierarchy, that being the shadim, and what is really occurring here. First, we must understand that Yetzirah and Bariah are higher dimensions. And when we understand that they are higher dimensions, we must understand that shadim are higher dimensional entities. And for this reason, the Zohar describes them as swooping down. For example, in book 1 of the Zohar, it states that a certain shadim swoops down 6,000 parsangs down to the depths below and grabs a certain word and transforms it into a certain type of hell. We can take a look at it here. It states the perverse one then flies in that false heaven, traversing 6,000 parsangs in one bound, and as soon as this false heaven is formed, a wife of harlotry emerges, seizes onto this false heaven, and joins it. From there, she leaves to slay by thousands and tens of thousands, because as long as she appends herself to this heaven, she has the authority and the ability to fly and traverse the whole world in an instant. And it has been explained in the previous video regarding the matter of how the influences from the heart and its 7 chambers ascend into the mind, in which they are garbed in words, which are angels, which then gather together to form concepts, which are heavens. And according to this, of what I've stated, it is written in the Zohar, book 1, section 11, you are my partner. Be my partner just as I have made heavens and earth with my words. As it is written, by the word of Hashem the heavens were made. So shall you by your words of wisdom make new heavens and new earths. Happy are those who occupy themselves in the Torah. Thus we must go into one more matter before we expound the fullness of what is occurring. It states here in Yitro, that is book 10, in the 3rd month after the children of Israel went out of the land of Egypt, the great minister Uriel rules over. And it states, he is accompanied by 365 10,000s of camps, corresponding to the number of the days of the year. Now we may fully expound the matter. To understand the hierarchy, we will first begin with the side of the infernal, and know that at the top of these things, in general, we, in the Western world, refer to it as the Satan. Satan simply means the accuser. However, the specific names I will not mention in this video. Nonetheless, understand that the Satan, which is the accuser, has underneath him 7 particular Arkshadim. And these particular Arkshadim reside inside of 7 mansions, which within themselves operate through 7 chambers. Beneath them are 365 ministers corresponding to every day of the year. As we just learned with the angel Uriel having 365 underneath him, which correspond to every day of the year, so too is it with the Sita Achra. And this is the secret of he created the one as well as the other. Now, the truth is that each of these 365 ministers have within themselves 10 legions. A legion corresponds to 6,000, as we learned about that one of perversity who swoops down 6,000 parsangs. The explanation is as follows. It has been made known to you that the matter in which those perverted heavens or perverse heavens that were generated were in the matters of interpretation, and again this solidifies the exact same mysteries that were made known to you regarding the creation of heavens via those angels, which are various thoughts that form concepts. The 6,000 parsangs that the perverse one swoops down is according to the low end of thoughts that a human being has every day, which is 6,000. Thus, at a minimum, there are 6,000 thoughts per day to every single human being. And at a cap, there are 60,000 thoughts per day. Thus, 10 legions. For a legion is 6,000. And the 10 refer to the 10 levels within inside of the klipath, meaning each of the spheros, which rule a complete partsuf. Thus, there is the Satan, and underneath him there are 7 archdemons, which are primary influences. They exist within 7 mansions. The 7 mansions are the 7 forms, which are called 7 royal houses of idolatry. This is the collective sum of experiences of all of those heavens formed by all of those demons. And beneath them are 7 chambers by which they operate. They are the 2 eyes, which are envy and greed. They are the hands, which are wrath, the chest, which is sloth, the stomach, which is gluttony, and the reproductive organ, which is lust. The ruling quality being pride, and of this it is written, these 6, yes, these 7, my soul hates. And regarding this, it is also written that Hashem hates a proud look on a person's face. And pride is the root of all of these things in these 7 chambers, where envy and greed correspond to the eyes, wrath corresponds to the hands, sloth corresponds to the chest, gluttony corresponds to the stomach, lust corresponds to the reproductive organ, and pride corresponds to the brain. Thus we find that these 7 things rule the body. And so the Zohar states that the Satan rules the body. These are the 7 chambers which bring up into those 7 mansions, which have within themselves 7 archministers or 7 archdemons, which are all underneath the Satan. Beneath these are 365 varying ministers, and each of them have 10 legions. It was mentioned to you that these refer to 6,000, and that is to say 6,000 thoughts on the low spectrum and 60,000 thoughts on the high spectrum. And collectively, this is the secret of the verse, the thoughts of a man's heart are evil continually. A similar understanding is also on the side of holiness. Now, to fully understand and embrace the totality of what it is that we're discussing, we must understand what these 365 are. We should understand that as the earth rotates, it does so through a set of astrological alignments. And so our sages said that there were 12 months in Gehinom, which correspond to the 12 zodiacal influences. And regarding this, it is also stated that there are 7 chambers in Gehinom, and these refer to the 7 planetary influences. And as the earth revolves the sun over a period of 365 days, it alternates between all of these zodiacal signs with different planetary influences occurring at different time periods. Thus, the influences are never the same. And because of this, every unique influence that the earth faces creates a different form of interaction and influence. And these influences upon the earth, these astral influences coming from the zodiacal influences and the planetary influences, create 365 different ministers. And all of these different ministers are unique and separate from each other, and none of them overlap each other. Thus, we can understand something at a much higher level. And for this reason, he said to Abraham, Lech lecha, that is to say, get you out of this land. And our sages said that this was in reference to the mazalot, an example, the influences of the stars. Because the reality is that we are down here in the world of Asiya, and in the world of Yetzirah are countless angels. This is the sod of, he makes the wind his messengers, that is to say, his ruach, his melachim. This being said, human beings are being influenced by higher dimensional entities every single day. And these higher dimensional entities are the secret of various influences. And it was made known to you that these various influences enter into the heart, where they ascend into the mind, and they become thoughts, which then form heavens, which then, from these, are birthed the persona, which is the great serpent, the amalgamation of the sum of experiences. And these influences can be tracked. For when certain planets are in retrograde or certain months are at hand, certain influences are in effect. Thus, the true reality is that we here in the world of Asiya are being influenced by higher dimensional influences. These higher dimensional influences are the secret of messengers, that being the secret of angels and Shadim. And on the negative spectrum of these things, in absence of Kedusha, it is written, the thoughts of a man's heart are evil continually. And this is the source of negativity within inside of one's heart. For these influences of a negative nature are birthed from these legions of angels or demons that rule over each one of these days, all underneath the Satan. Thus, the same is on the matter of holiness. And all of these things are in regards to that in which fills the vessels, and the tikkuns and corrections which are upon those vessels, and these vessels being the various forms, the secret of the attributes or midah within inside of one's own being. For if the kalim inside of the midah, that is to say the forms, lack corrections and are damaged or broken, then the influences become negative. And if there is tikkun and correction, then the influences become positive. And all of these influences are the filling of lights within inside of vessels. And when the vessels are not prepared, they produce shadim. And when they are prepared, they produce melachim. Thus, according to what has been established, these shadim or demons ride the ruach, meaning they ride the forms. And so people are being influenced by higher dimensional demonic influences. And these in truth are actual shadim. And the number of them per day is up to 60,000. And therefore something far beyond an exorcism would be required, considering the fact that a person can have up to 60,000 thoughts per day. And these 60,000 thoughts can be negative entirely in nature. And therefore, every day, people have demons entering inside of them. And these demons that are entering inside of them are higher dimensional entities, which are influencing them via negative influences within inside of the heart, breeding them, as it were, to produce more demons, which are more negative thoughts birthed from those influences, and creating more perverse firmaments in which that crooked one is birthed, being the persona. The serpent, after time, takes upon the image of the person being influenced, and it speaks to them in the same way that the mind speaks to the individual. However, we have a mind, we are not our mind. We are the choice. The first thing that the serpent does is convinces you that it is you. An example, you are the persona. The second thing that it does is it then convinces you that it's God. And so people begin to think that it is indeed God speaking to them via this persona. However, over time, a person then relinquishes their choice, which is to say, their control, and then they simply act and react. A vicious cycle then occurs in which a person then takes their current experience and filters it through their collective sum of experiences, which is the serpent, the persona, whose power is speech, to birth new thoughts and new concepts by which fortify its own perceived existence and ultimately retain control over the individual. Now, I won't go into much deeper detail regarding the nature of the persona and the nature of the serpent, but that is not the aim of this particular video. This particular video is to lay out how human beings are being influenced and manipulated by higher dimensional entities, which by means of influences enter into the furnace of the heart and cause all of these processes to occur via thoughts and concepts. The same thing happens with the nature of angels, and understand that angels can also enter into a person, and when they do, they will whisper such and such, and a person will have an insight into a matter he could not possibly have known anything about. And these various angels have been in the secret of the Maggid, which have been talked about, in which certain Rabbanan and certain Hachamim have received insights regarding into the nature of Torah study and other things that they could not have possibly have known, and they were referred to as a Maggid. Now, regarding all of these matters, in the same likeness, we find that angels are constantly entering into people, and demons are constantly entering into people every single day. And because the nature of lower entities is not to be able to perceive the nature of higher dimensional entities, the world is unaware of any of these influences occurring on a daily basis. Every single person watching this video have had countless angels enter into them at some point in their lives to influence them in one way or another, and they have also had countless shadim or demons enter into their lives without their understanding or knowing at all. In the same way that a two-dimensional existence cannot comprehend or perceive a three-dimensional existence, is the same way that a three-dimensional existence cannot comprehend or conceive the ideas of a four-dimensional, five-dimensional, six-dimensional, seventh-dimensional, etc. entity. And what we are dealing with are higher dimensional entities. We have only our three-dimensional construct to conceive and base our understandings of these entities or influences by. However, they do not operate within the realm of the third dimension. And because of this, three-dimensional understandings, an example, they look like human beings with angels, wings, or they look like animals, or this, that, or the other thing, cannot actually be applied to them. We must think of them in terms of influences, energy, exchangings of information, and positive and negative. Then we may be able to gaze and perceive into the depths of these matters. Consider very carefully the significance of what is actually occurring in this world, and how human beings here are being manipulated by higher dimensional entities who through influences are controlling the world. So with that being said, as David HaMelech said, open my eyes that I may behold the wonders of your Torah. Amen, everyone. Shalom and Selah.